Death Cab for Cutie there with Northern Lights. That from their new album, Thank You for Today. Shu here with you, and thank you for listening today. Right here, it's the 94Z Lunch Alternative with Wild Wind Cafe. And joined by a very special guest today, DJ, artist, and musician, singer-songwriter, Morgxn. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. And I know you've been busy. You played, appropriately enough, since it is the 94Z Lunch Alternative with Wild Wind Cafe. You played at a Wild Wind Cafe last night, right?
I did. I played in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Very cool, cool. So you're on your way to Memphis.
On my way to Memphis, yeah.
Right on. You just wanted to stop in, say what's up, maybe play some tunes for us?
Totally. I'm from Nashville, and so it's been a long time since I have been able to actually come home and play music in my home state. So it's been years since I've been to Knoxville. I have family here, and it's incredible that you all are playing my record right now. It's very special for me for being from Nashville.
That's cool. So it's kind of like a homecoming tour. You got a homecoming stretch going on right now.
We're calling it the homecoming tour because the song is called Home, and I don't get home very much. And it's to have it be because of this song is just incredibly special.
Yeah, very cool. You know, gotta love the state too, and you're making the rounds throughout the state, and here you are stopping in, talking with us today. And so you said you're originally from the Nashville area. What part?
I was from Bellevue, West Nashville.
Yeah,
but my grandfather grew up in East Nashville, but long before it was like the super hip thing that it is now. Grandfather grew up there, and then my parents grew up there too. So my roots run super deep for Nashville.
Right on. East Nashville has changed a ton.
Dude, I mean,
in the last 15 years.
When my grandfather grew up there, he was like, I will never go back there. And when I started, he's no longer alive now, but when I would tell him, oh, I'm going to go out and hang out in East Nashville, he literally, he'd look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah,
you know,
be careful,
yeah.
son.
And I was like, no, you have no idea. It's so hip, I don't even know what to do with it, you know.
Now, your grandfather, he was a musician too, right?
Not that grandfather, but my other grandfather
Okay.
was. He's from Alabama, so we're here in the South. He was a musician. His father was a vaudeville singer, so I grew up singing all the time in my house because of my grandfather, and that was that's what's so special about this, to be back home.
Cool, yeah, and I'm originally from the Hendersonville, Tennessee area, so not too far from Bellevue there, so we're kind of from the same stomping ground, so that's cool. We got that in common. And you're talking about growing up singing. You had a very cool experience when you were very young singing at a Preds game. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I think the Predators had just moved to Nashville, and it was a huge deal, and I was the kid that if I could find any place to sing, I would, and I would also not really think too hard about it. I was pretty I would say, I don't know if confidence is the right word, or just pretty much blindly I loved to sing, and I would do it wherever I could. So we went down to the audition, and there was probably thousands of people there auditioning to sing, and I just went in, did my audition, and then they somehow chose me. I now realize that's kind of crazy, but I was fine. I remember I walked onto the ice, there's 20,000 people, and I just started singing the national anthem, and I guess I had a big voice as a 9-year-old. I felt fine. My mother, though, was literally holding the camera and shaking. She was so nervous, for me. So the only footage that we have of it is my mother holding this camera and just if you could watch me right now, just
trembling video.
Yeah, tremors in the video. But it's really cool. I moved away from home in order to find myself and to find the music, and I think sometimes you sort of have to take that journey as an artist, but
Absolutely.
Eventually you will come home. And I remember writing this song, Home, that I'm going to play in a second. I remember writing it, and I don't think too hard when I write. I just see what comes up. And I remember thinking wow, I have gone so far away from home really to ultimately just miss it and know that no matter what, I will always be a Tennessee boy.
There you go. You've come a long way from when you were 9 years old singing the national anthem at the Nashville Predators. That's just super cool. And we got that in common too, because I'm a huge Preds fan. And I usually make it to 2 or 3 games a year.
Don't quote, aren't they doing...
They're doing really well.
I hear they're doing great.
Still one of the best records in the NHL.
Actually, you might hear my song Home with NHL soon. I guess I'm just going to say that out loud.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We will definitely support that too. And yeah, it's awesome. And so you talked about moving away. You moved to LA, and then you had some roots in New York City too, right?
Yeah, after college, I went I lived in New York, and I did theater, thinking that I could like lose myself in someone else's storyline, you know. And what I found is that honestly, I wanted to write songs, and I didn't really know how to do that, so I started like playing concerts and not telling people that they were my songs. Like I would write them, and then people after the shows would be like, "That song, whose song is that?" And I was like, "That's actually mine." I don't think that I had the confidence to sort of put myself out there quite yet. It was moving to LA and sort of this journey of this record that sort of, I think, opened that up for me.
That's cool. Yeah, and I read somewhere that you had a very unique experience with Stevie Nicks. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, imagine that you are brand new to LA, and obviously Stevie Nicks is a legend.
Small fish in a big pond.
Yeah, and you're invited to this like very industry party, and all you want to do is make music. You really don't care about anything, like you don't care about, it's not about the glamour, like you just want to make music, right? So I get invited to this party at the Village Studios, and I go, and this woman from Nashville, she's like, "Do you want to meet Stevie Nicks?" Because she's at this party. I think it was in honor of her. And I was like, is that even an option? So if you could see me in the studio, like I'm standing like right here, and literally she's like, "Yeah, she's right here." And I turn, and like 2 feet away from me is Stevie Nicks, like looking at me, and I'm like, "Hi." I say nothing. She literally like, I think she was not threatened by my energy at that moment, and we sat down, and she honestly told me like, keep moving, and this city is something that you have to create your momentum and like keep going. And I literally said nothing. I just soaked up that moment, and it was pretty special.
Wow, that's pretty inspirational there, coming from an artist like that, and so renowned and everything, and especially when you were just getting there and kind of trying to get a feel for the city and everything, and then getting some inspirational words like that.
She's always been like, she's always been like a force of nature for me, like her voice and who she is as a woman and as a figure, as a woman in music. They talk a lot about women in music today, which they should, but Stevie Nicks, even before that was like an idea, she was a force. And I think honestly she wanted to escape the party at that moment, and somehow I was just right there at the right time where she would like take as long as she did and sit down with me and just like talk at me.
Cool.
I've had a lot of moments like that have been really special. In the making of this record, I also have a cover of The Cure's Boys Don't Cry on there, and that was a song that my dad had passed away, and it was something that the song just spoke to me on a totally different level. And when I recorded it, it was going to be hard to clear it because The Cure is very precious, Robert Smith, with their music, understandably. But I ended up writing him a letter asking him for permission to put it on my record. And his publisher basically emailed us back and was like, "Robert approves," which is rare. And so that's how that is the closing song on my record. So, you don't think about those moments as they're happening, kind of like when you're sitting here talking to people, do you realize, wow, these moments that sort of line up and make your journey, like that's what is, for lack of better words, that's what's vital in the whole history of
That's awesome. So when you wrote that letter, did you have to include like a demo of what you sounded like?
I did. I sent him the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
The actual recording, and then
Yeah.
he said, "Cool, yeah, I like that."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The actual note back was Robert approves, which is rare.
Okay, awesome. It said, you even said, "which is rare."
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Well, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And you recently teamed up with Walk the Moon on the new track Home, and yeah, we're spinning that one right now.
Thank you so much.
That's a cool new track. Yeah, I watched the video. I saw the video the other day. Cool video too. And we mentioned the New York thing. It looks like you filmed some of that was shot in New York because the guy getting on the subway and all that.
Yeah, that was the original version of Home. That was
Okay.
shot in New York. The new version was shot in the desert.
Okay.
Which, I mean, the idea of home for me is like, I'm from Nashville, but I've sort of made a lot of homes
Right, you've got
along
roots,
the way.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Different
when I'm
spots.
playing this music like around the country, it's like it starts to feel like every city, I don't know, like I want to claim it as home, especially when there's like a crowd of people who are singing your music with you. Like there's like, that's home to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and you've made memories at different places, and yeah, you can call
Totally.
that home too. But now you're kind of on the homecoming tour of Tennessee, being a Tennessean and everything, and back at it across the state again. And speaking of home, that's the one that you're going to sing for us today, right?
we're gonna do it live right now.